So we'll go to our first presentation for today. Our first presentation for today. So we have for today we have two presentations from two great speakers, and it really excites me that we all are here and we're going to learn from them. Our first presentation will be Nigeria's political history, which will be presented by Victoria Abraham, and our second will be transformative mindset for activism, which will be by Olalekan Akiola. So today, these are the two presentations. So we start with the first one, which is being presented by Victoria Abraham. So who is Victoria Abraham? Bumi. So Victoria Bumi Abraham is a passionate advocate for human rights with a focus on education and well-being of girl child and marginalized groups. A mass communication graduate, she has extensive experience in social development, program design and implementation, stakeholder engagement, advocacy, and community sensitization. Currently serving as a program coordinator at Stand With a Girl initiative. She leads impactful programs that promote education, empowerment, and sexual and reproductive health rights for girls. Certified in program management in global health from the University of Washington. She's dedicated to fostering an environment where every human can strive and contribute to a more equitable society. Victoria is a proud alumna of Power Shift Africa Fellowship and currently serves as a program and partnership lead. She's a passionate advocate for the new Nigerian dream, believing firmly in the power of collective efforts to drive meaningful change. Through her work, Victoria seeks to harness the drive meaningful change. Through her work, Victoria seeks to harness energy and creativity of young Nigeria to build a brighter future for all, embodying the fellowship spirit of leadership, innovation, and community-driven solution. So thank you very much. This is Victoria, our facilitator for today. So Victoria, you are welcome to the call. Please, let's just give her a round of applause, a visual round of applause. You can give her any emoji that you think fits her. Victoria, thank you very much. Thank you for joining this call. So the floor is yours, Victoria.
Thank you so much, Joy, for that warm welcome. Good evening, everyone. Hope we had a beautiful day. It's cold where I am, here in Abuja. I don't know about you, but I believe, I would want to believe that we had a wonderful day. I mean, today is Saturday, and I believe that we all had time to rest and carry out fun activities. You know, I could see some of the things that we said we did in the chat box. Well done, everyone. So good evening once again, everyone. Just like Joy rightly said, my name is Victory Bumi Abraham, and I'll be taking the session, the Nigerian political history. Okay, so we're going to be going on this journey, and it's very important that when we've had beautiful sessions from yesterday, and we're just trying to lay a foundation, lay a background for us as we build. We're building on something. So while we build, it's important that we take into cognizance that when we're trying to find solution to a problem, it's important that we try to find the root cause of that problem and not just look at it at face level, which is why we're going to look at the Nigerian political history. I know that the Nigerian political history is broad. We can't do all of it today. So what I'll do today is I'm going to tease out some elements for us to look at. I would like that this class is quite engaging. A lot of us will be involved. You know, I like us to talk. I like us to express ourselves. We know that we do not really have, for want of time, we have limited time. We'll see how we can manage our time today to achieve that. But overall, we're all going to have a beautiful time together as we brainstorm and as we try to, you know, talk about these issues together. Thank you for that. Okay, yes. So before we start, first question, and I'll give opportunity to two persons. Yeah, two persons in 10 seconds, if that is possible. What is the first political event in Nigeria that you learned about? Who are the two persons? First political event in Nigeria you learned about. Okay, we have Fortune, the first person, and can I get the second person? Who is going to talk? Okay, nobody. If nobody is speaking, can we have Fortune? Fortune, yes, go ahead.
Okay, the first political event I learned about was I don't remember the political party, but I think it's NNCC or something. But it was organized by Nnamdi Azikiwe. I don't know the particular name, but it was organized by Azikiwe with the Northern Coalition. That's just I can't go into details, but this is the first political event I think I know of in Nigeria.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Can you give him a virtual clap? Well done, Fortune. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so I said two persons, so I'm going to be giving opportunity to the second person. Angela Ademola, go on and speak.
Good evening, Ms. Victory. So the first
Evening.
political event, the first political event in Nigeria that I'll say I got to know about was actually the Civil War.
Okay.
So the 1965 to the 19 this Biafran Civil War, that would be my first political event in Nigeria that I'll say I learned
Thank
about.
you. Thank you for
That
sharing. Thank you for sharing. Please, can you encourage him? Yeah. Give him a virtual clap. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful to know. Okay, so next slide. Thank you all. Thank you all for being cooperative. Yes. So now, like I said, it's very important that when we want to find solution to a particular problem, we look at it from the root. So now we're going to be looking at some problem statements, right? You agree with me that the current political structure we have in Nigeria is not working for us, true or false? If you agree with me, fine. If you do not agree with me, it's still fine. I mean, every one of us, we're entitled to how we want to feel, it's fine. Feel free to also use the chat box to drop in your comments or reflection as we proceed in the course. Thank you. So first off, 1914 amalgamation. How about the 1914 amalgamation? So one of the problem statements we're looking at is the 1914 amalgamation, and it prioritized British administrative convenience. So what do we mean by this? Basic history will tell us Nigeria came into being by the coming together of the northern and southern protectorates. By who? By Lord Lugard. Basic history will tell us that. And this was orchestrated by British colonial authorities. Why? Primarily because they wanted to take power, they wanted administrative and economic convenience rather than national unity. So by merging the northern and southern protectorate, the British aimed to streamline governance and resource extraction, particularly using the surplus revenue from the south to subsidize administrative costs in the north, right? So, however, this unification, now leads us to the next point: reinforce ethnic, regional, and religious divisions. So, this unification, rather than bridge um, the different gaps that we had in terms of administration and governance, it lumped together diverse ethnic groups, such as we had the Hausa Fulani in the north, Yoruba in the west, Igbo in the east. Of course, we know we have other smaller minority groups in all of these regions. Other groups, let me not call them minority groups in all of this region, without fostering a shared national identity. So what exactly am I saying? So when this amalgamation happened, it was done by the colonial rulers, and they did that because of based on their interest. Nigerians were not consulted, were not on the table to decide what we wanted for our nation. It was based on what the colonial ruler wanted. I'm just trying to lay a background for us to understand. So for example, Ifoma in the east was not consulted to say, okay, Ifoma I'm trying to look for someone's name in the south. Okay, Edet in the south was not consulted. Colonial masters sat together and decided what Nigeria should be. Now, post-independent structures mirrored colonial divide. Now, after the structures that colonial rulers has, as you know, made for us, after they left, post-independence, you discover that we had a lot of struggle from the First Republic, Second Republic. We are currently in the Fourth Republic. I hope we know that. We had a lot of political struggles. And it's also important for us to take note that this amalgamation we know did not bring about national unity. If you look at the political parties that were developed in the inception of our Nigerian political history, most of them were regional politics, based on regional politics. Every region was trying to, oh, we want this, like let's form a political party so we can, develop our region. We have the Northern People Congress, we had the Action Group in the East, Northern People Congress was in the North, we had the National Council for Nigeria and the Cameroons in the East. And then we had the Nigerian Youth Movement. Of course, we know that the first political party we had is the Nigerian National Democratic Party. So move on to the next slide, please. Next slide. Yes. So now we'll be looking at this political flashpoint, similar to, just taking a cue from the previous slide. So we've seen the 1940 amalgamation by Lord Lugard, and how that it was based on colonial interests that they did that. So it would be easy for them to take resources from one part of the region to another for their benefit. Now, in 1960, Nigeria gained independence. What framework was used? Colonial framework. The colonial master was still they were still in the hem of affair up to 1963, where they handed over to our first Nigerian ruler. Now, in 1999, we returned to democracy. Like I mentioned, we've had like 4 republics up till 1999, which happened to be the Fourth Republic. And the old pattern persisted. So at this point, I would want to pause and hear from us. What do we think about all of this? All of these things that I just mentioned. Like I said while I started, we cannot delve like deep into this and say, oh, this was what happened in this year, this was what happened in that year. But just to give us a background that this was the struggles we had in our political history. So what do we think? What is that one thing that we can point to and say, this is similar? This is predominant from the pre-colonial era to the colonial era and the post-colonial era. Do we have anyone who is okay? We have a hand raised already. Awal Ibrahim Adamu. Go on. Awal, you can go on. Okay, if Awal is not there, can we have Shaibu Yusheu here?
Hello, good evening, everyone. I hope you are doing well. So, what I have
Yes, it's
learned
fine.
here is that after colonialism, what these colonies lived in us is something that we can't eradicate in our political life, which is tribalism, sectionalism, and religious. So, for
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria to progress, we need to, know that we are all Nigerians and we are
Yeah.
working for better Nigeria. Whenever we think we are from different regions, we are with different religions, we can't progress. So we need to
Mm-hmm.
come together and lift all those things that are holding us back and work for a better Nigeria that everyone will enjoy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Okay, can we have Fahad Aliyu? Thank you so much for that submission. That was really, really beautiful. Thank you. Fahad, go on,
Okay,
please.
okay. Thank you for the chance and opportunity. Yes, actually, We had a very terrible years during the colonialism, up down to when we fight for independence and we were given independence by 1960. Yeah, we have in terms of things that happened from after that independence, particularly the Civil War, and then which some scholars and some thinkers believe that it all rooted back to the regional government structure that was, created by the colonialist and other things. But notwithstanding, history should not always be the reason for holding us back. What I just want to say here is that we
Mhm.
should try as much as possible to decolonize our mind, to think beyond
Oh,
what
beautiful.
historical history has already left for us. There are a lot of things we need to do. We need to forget. We need to look for an opportunity in these our different differences that we find ourselves. That's why the amalgamation was not intended to favor us, but at the same time,
Yeah,
there must be a reason why God bring us together to be a one
exactly.
nation. So I think we should decolonize our mindset and think beyond that regional implications of the colonial imperialism and other things, and then search for a better Nigeria that we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is beautiful. Okay, Edith, thank you for
All right,
that.
all right. Thank you very much, Victory. I want to tour the path of the first speaker. Talking about ethnicity and all of that. If we calculate from 1914 to 2024, that would be 100 years since the amalgamation. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves is, since this amalgamation happened, has there been any positive pathway for us as Nigerians? The
Yeah.
question is,
Mhm,
the question
mhm,
is, the
mhm,
answer is no, because we
mhm,
keep seeing ourselves playing politics of calumny, politics of ethnicity, politics of religion. If this person
mhm,
is not from my region, I will not vote for him. If this person is not from my tribe, I will not vote for him. So I'm thinking, and my piece of advice would be that we should push aside politics of calumny, politics of
mhm.
ethnicity, and then place Nigeria first. When we learn to
Exactly.
see ourselves first as Nigerians, then religion, ethnicity, and all other stuffs will be put to rest. So that's my candid opinion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is beautiful. Thank you all for everyone that spoke. I know a lot of us have things that we want to say. Yeah, so I love that this conversation is going to where we really want it to be. Yes, that's why we are here today as young people to rewrite Nigerians' political history. We've had the history, but now we need to rewrite Nigerian political history, which is why we are here today. So we're going to move on. Some of us have already taken us further into our session for today, but that's fine. So we're going to look at some case studies in activism in Nigeria. Next slide, please. Okay, I know that these case studies are familiar with us. So why are we looking at this case study? Now we've had issue, yeah, and then we've had people who have stood up to say, you know what, we're not comfortable with this. We need a change. Something needs to happen. And we know that I had in one of the recaps, someone mentioned that a wish will only be a wish if we do not take action. Yes, our speaker from yesterday mentioned that. We had people who stood up and said no. For example, the About Women's riots, we had women that stood up and said, no, you see, this British colonial policy on tax, particularly on taxation, will have to end. We had our women in the South that stood up and said, this thing will have to end. We had Ken Saro-Wiwa who stood up and said, see, he protested against the environmental degradation caused by oil companies in the Niger Delta. And then the most recent one that we can relate with is the 2020 NSAS protest that was led by young people. We had all of these protests, right? Yes, we agree that to a large extent, progress was made. Yeah, so bringing it back to us now as young people, the question I would want to leave us with is, what legacy are we going to leave for the next generation? We know that we are here now because certain individuals fought for our independence. Certain individuals, you know, left their comfort zone and said, you know what, Nigeria is ours. We need to take our country back. And they put their I mean, they went all out, they sacrificed a lot to see that the right thing, was done. And then that's why we're enjoying certain privileges today. So now think about this. If you do not stand up to rewrite our political history or stand up against certain anomaly in our political sphere, what will Nigeria look like in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years, in the next 40 years? Is this the kind of Nigeria you want to leave for your children? Think about it. It's not for us to respond to. Think about it. Now, another reflection I would like us to think about is this. Taking the 2020 NSAS protest as a very good example, we saw that young people mobilized themselves, they came all out, NSAS, NSAS, NSAS. By the end of the NSAS protest, what was the results? So now it goes back to saying that, yes, we need to be activists, right? But we have to be strategic in our approach. And there are processes to these things. One of it, we kept on emphasizing, and even from the inception, from our orientation, we say, see, it's not a solo work. You can't do it alone. You have to collaborate. You have to work with people. You have to build trust, And then good thing is some of us have highlighted this point that we need to embrace ourselves and see ourselves as one Nigeria first. That's when we can start working for the good of our country. You agree with me that a lot of our political, if you go into the political sphere right now, it's not even about Nigeria. It's about personal interest. It's about personal gain, And then I just want to mention this, just to cite this. And yesterday, while I was watching Arise TV, I don't know how many of us tuned into Arise TV in the morning. There was a particular lawyer that was asked to analyze the current issue now that's going on about the rotation of presidency that was turned down at the National Assembly. So the man made this statement. He said, see, Nigeria is like a patient in the hospital who is not getting well. So if a patient stays in the hospital for so long that is not getting well, what do you do to such a patient? Don't you think it's time to change the hospital? Yes, which is now bringing us back to the colonial era. We keep blaming the colonial master. The colonial master did this, they did that, they didn't do well, and all of that, which is why I had to take us back to history. But now they've come and gone. Ede just gave us, an analysis of, we over 100 years from 1914 to 1924. So the question now is, what are we doing as Nigerians? What are we doing to ensure that Nigeria is Nigeria of our dream? What exactly are we doing? We're going to look at examples from other countries and what they did. Nigeria is not the only country that was colonized by the West. We had countries like India, Singapore, America, but they are doing quite well. What exactly did they do differently from Nigeria? And like we all know, they didn't fold their hands and then things changed. People took action. People stood up and said, we need to change the narrative. And then you can see how well they're doing. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So while we're waiting for the next slide, okay. Thank you. So now we're going to be looking at what other African countries did. I'm not saying that they are perfect or they're doing absolutely well, but at least they're doing better than Nigeria. We know that. Nigeria happens to be the giant of Africa, but we have a lot that we need to, change. So Ghana, for instance, what did they do? They strengthened democratic institutions. How? So Ghana had to stand out as a model for democratic consolidation in Africa since transitioning from military rule in the 90s. And what it did was that it has had like multiple peaceful elections. It has upheld and fostered judicial independence. This is Ghana, our very close neighbor. And then what it did was that it established a strong electoral institution, an active society, and a free press that has helped build public trust and political stability. And this is what we are lacking currently in Nigeria. So Ghana's success lies in prioritizing institution building over personality, which is a key factor in sustaining democracy. That's Ghana. Now, South Africa. Our next case study. South Africa, what did they do? Truth and reconciliation post-apartheid. We are conversant with the story of the apartheid in South Africa, the blacks and the whites and all of those killings and all of that, Nelson Mandela and all of that. Yes. So after the fall of apartheid, what happened? South Africa adopted a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So we have similar case like South Africa, and what I would liken that to be would be the Biafran War we had in Nigeria in 1967 that lasted between 1967 to 1970. So what South Africa did was that they established a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to address decades of racial injustice and violence instead of revenge or retribution. So this commission promoted healing through acknowledgement of wrongs, public testimonies, and forgiveness. And this approach helped prevent large-scale conflict and laid the groundwork for coexistence and democratic governance. It also shows the power of facing history openly to build a shared national identity. Shared national identity. Kudos. South Africa, yeah? Rwanda. We know of the genocide in Rwanda, the Hutsi, the Tutsi, and all of that, all of the plenty issues that Rwanda had. It was a brutal killing in Rwanda. Who would think that Rwanda would be what it is right now? If you check Rwanda, a lot of conferences going on in the development space, you discover that Rwanda is a host to most of these conferences. Why? What did they do differently? So following the 1994 genocide, Rwanda implemented an aggressive policy focused on national unity and reconciliation. Take note that South Africa and Rwanda had two similar approaches that they used. A national policy on unity and reconciliation. Ghana was trust and reconciliation. And then ethnic labels were officially banned in public discourse. And the government invested heavily in rebuilding infrastructures, education, and inclusive governance through initiatives like the Gakaka Community Court and the National Unity and Reconciliation Commission. Now, this is just one amongst the several countries that I would mention and what they did differently from what Nigeria, talking about what Nigeria has not done yet. So next slide, please. Okay, so now what can be done? Very important. What can be done? We've talked about our problem statements. Yes, how that this colonial master came, we're not part of the discussion. They took decision on our behalf. It's affecting us. We're divided across ethnic lines, across religious lines, and all of that. We can continue to play the blame game, right? I will not make any headway. So now, what are the solutions? Also, let us also understand that we are responsible for our own problem. We are our own problem. And as a nation, we have our own faults, right? And then as young people, like I said initially, it's very important that we're able to come together. Some speakers have already said, look beyond our differences and come together and see how we can forge Nigeria forward. Yes. So after 60 years, over 60 years of independence, the question is, what has changed? What has changed in our political history? The answer is not far. Nothing significant has really changed. So now, what do we need to do? It's very important that we are able to renegotiate, like Mr. Nonso would always say. Don't worry. One of these days, you have Mr. Nonso take a session and you really get to hear from him personally. But there's one thing Mr. Nonso usually do say, that we need to renegotiate Nigeria, where everyone will be on the table and decide what exactly we want for Nigeria, where we bring everyone, make it inclusive. Everyone, every stakeholder will be on the table and will decide, oh, this is what we want Nigeria to be, right? So now, what can be done? It's important that we promote unity in education and governance. This is very important. Now, for anyone to take action, that person must have knowledge, right? You can't run on the wings of ignorance and make any change. It's not possible. You are here today because it's important that you are here to build all of the skills, get all of the information and knowledge you need to get to be activists to be advocates, not just advocates, but advocates who are intentional and strategic. Like I mentioned, during the NSAS protest, we had people advocating here and there. What happened? We didn't see much results. Why? Because we're not strategic enough. We're not intentional. We're in a hurry. We're in a hurry to just rush out and just make the noise and then make the noise and come back. What happened? We did not engage with the system. We did not engage with the right process, and which is why we are still where we are today. So from every educational level, curriculum at all levels should emphasize national history, shared values, and the importance of diversity. Education can be a powerful tool to foster unity by teaching young people about different cultures, encouraging tolerance, and cultivating a sense of national identity. In governance, policies should aim to also bridge regional and ethnic divides by ensuring fair resource distribution and inclusive leadership. Now, I mean, as young people, an average young person in Nigeria do not really know much of Nigerian history. I mean, it's sad. It's sad that our curriculum is not really rich in ensuring that we embody this. We embody certain virtues and information that we need to have about our country, including myself speaking here. There are a lot of information I really do not have. It's not an excuse, which I'm trying to find out for myself, because these things I missed them, in the educational system, in primary school, in secondary school, and all of that. Secondly, what can we do? It's also very important that we're able to demand inclusive representation. Like I mentioned, citizens must advocate for a political system that reflects Nigerian diversity. We are diverse in ethnicity, are diverse in our gender roles, diverse in our regions, in religion, from local council to national assembly. We are diverse, and then we need inclusive representation, which will help to ensure that all voices are heard and we're able to reduce feelings of marginalization. So because certain groups feels like they're being marginalized, So Nigeria is not for me, it's for a group of persons. Where Nigeria is not for, it's not for my, so let's just manage it the way we see it. Everybody will be fine last. That's the language you use. But the truth is, if we continue like this, we will not make headway, which is why we need to take action. Thirdly, what can we do as young people? Use digital platforms for civic education. Yes, as a young person, you might say, oh, I can't do much. But the truth is, just like we saw yesterday, we have digital advocacy. Yeah, you can sit in the comfort of your house, and then you can educate people about certain things that they need to know to take action. And this advocacy online could be, you could be creative about it. It could be a media campaign, it could be a webinar you're hosting, it could be a Twitter live, Instagram live, Facebook live. You're bringing young people together to say, you know what, we need to talk about the issues. We need to rewrite Nigerian political history. We need to do something about Nigeria. What can we do as young people? You start mobilizing, you start organizing. This is how we can, these are the things that we can do. Remember, we had initially said you can't do this alone. You need to collaborate. You can't work alone. We need ourselves. We need ourselves. So we can use social media platform, websites, mobile apps to educate citizens, especially youth, on their rights, on their duties, and then on how the government works. Because if you do not know how the system works, it will be difficult to engage with the system. And then this platform can also be helped to simplify complex issues. Like, for example, we can do fact checking for misinformation, provide real-time civic updates. Now, during elections in Nigeria, a lot of things go on that probably young people are not really aware of. A lot of fake news are being pumped into our social media platforms just to get people's reaction, to turn people's attention to a particular subject matter. Why politicians are really strategic in their approach. We are the ones who are not really strategic in our approach. Now, if we have young people who are in this field, who have this knowledge of how to fact check misinformation, what you can do, sit down, you converse with a woman, pull out the truth, pump it there. If we have young people who say, oh, you know what, we're going to ensure that the right thing is done, we'll have a lot of young people who will mobilize other young people who would also work together with them to ensure that we're able to correct the wrongs in the system. So what next can we do? I know that we do not really have time again, so I'm going to be running from here. We also need to
Okay, you
strengthen
have
youth.
just 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute, my God. Okay, very important that we strengthen youth civic engagement. How? So young people are critical to Nigeria's future, and it's very important that we create more opportunities. We say the opportunity is not there, my dear. The opportunity is there, and we are okay. We are the opportunity that Nigerian has. So we're looking for a country where every Nigerian decides on the fate of our country, right? And you have a part to play in making that decision. I have a part to play, and every one of us have a part to play in making that decision. So I have a final question for us. Joy, please. Okay, because I mean I'm behind time now. Just jump onto my last reflection. What lessons from Nigeria past are most relevant today? And what role can you play in the next phase of Nigeria's political journey? Democratic journey, sorry. Can we have one or two persons? Joy, please, can you give me 2 minutes? One or two persons. What role can you play in the
One
next phase?
minute, 1 minute, just 1 minute.
Thank you.
Hello.
1 minute. So who is that? Who is going to be that one person that's going to respond? What role can you play? Okay. You shall, right? Go on, please. Thank you. Do we have Yushewu online?
Hello. Can you
Okay.
hear me, please?
If Yushewu is not
Yeah,
speaking, can we have Benson
yeah.
Mercy?
I think
Hello. Can
the
you hear
role we
me,
have
please?
to play here is to, educate our people to engage in politics and voting. People are really getting lost their hope that, well, even if we vote, our votes are not counted. So we have to educate those people that their vote is really counted and they are responsible to do that, and educate them that they have to hold their leaders accountable on whatever they are doing, so that we will have uh, Nigeria we hope to see later. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yushewu. I had slides that I was unable to talk about, and those slides already highlighted what you just said. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yes, very important that we're able to educate people, encourage them to vote, and hold representative accountable. So on this note, sorry for taking our time. I think I've come to the end of my session. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it was insightful. I hope you got something. I hope you got one or two from this session. Thank you so much. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you very much, Victory. I think I was calling Victoria because I had a meeting with someone today. So I think thank you very much, Victory. So much appreciated. So we just have maybe a little time to now call our second speaker. So I just want to just give opportunity for just one person to ask question. Then we go to the second speaker. I believe he's here. I think Leader Lalekan Akiola is here.
Please,
Just
can you
one
hear?
question, please. Yes,
Can you
Amina.
hear? Okay,
Yes,
sorry to
Amina.
interrupt. Please, I would suggest that all questions should be dropped in the chat box, and we'll have time
Okay.
to respond to it after the next session. So sorry, please just let them drop the questions in the chat box.
Okay.